Greetings and welcome to the Sunflower Bee channel. In today's video we'll be talking about mica, but more specifically the mineral mica in its crystal form. There's been a lot of talking regarding mica, its fire hazard, and whether someone should put it by a fire or not. I'll make this pretty broad, but I think most people would understand why I'm referring to mica, why I'm even making a video on mica, and why this is interesting to me. I've made a couple of videos that I've now unlisted because I wanted my channel to be less of a sewer type of channel. I wanted it to be more factual. I've made a couple of videos on information, cognitive dissonance, biases, and why certain people can manipulate, or how certain people can manipulate actual fact. I say actual even though fact is fact. When I'm saying actual fact, I'm saying empirical proof supporting that fact. How they can manipulate the actual fact in fitting their agenda or in fitting their portrayal of a company, what they make, or the person behind the company. I watched a video about this morning on mica and the truth behind mica. Now, if you just give me a moment, I can give you the full title of that video. And as I was watching it, I realized, something's kind of fishy, right? So the title was Molten Candles. Very catchy title. I will be sure to have catchy titles like that in my channel in the future. But anyway, so Molten Candles. That is an intriguing title, one that really made me want to follow it, right? I didn't actually see the video first. What had happened is I woke up and I tried to watch the trial that is happening right now. When I did that though, I went on my homepage and I saw certain videos being recommended, and even though I tried to distance myself from a certain community, I have found myself to be recommended a few channels even though I am unsubscribed to them. Well, I saw a video and in all reality I was bored and it was Saturday and I had nothing to do. So what did I do? I clicked on it and they were speaking about a video called Molten Candles, and really at the time I didn't care enough to look it up. But as YouTube always does, the algorithm kind of catches on, and whenever a certain YouTuber talks about another video, whether you like it or not, that certain video is going to be shown on your homepage. 2.77k subscribers on the channel with Molten Candles on it. And I wasn't subscribed to them. I don't even know who they are, but they were shown to me by YouTube's algorithm. So, I mean, I watched it, right? It's very interesting. And then, of course, the first thing that I see is the truth about mica. So you put two and two together, you see who hates who, and you realize, oh, the mica has nothing to do with mica or candles. It has everything to do with the person behind the mica on the candles. Fair enough. I watched the video and I see how, well, if I'm really just blunt, how it was really badly cropped screenshots moving, like in motion, and then in a moment of time I realized maybe that person doesn't actually want us to read what is on the screen, right? Because if I did want my audience to read what was on the screen, I would, one, explain what was on the screen, and two, I would make it so that they could actually read it instead of a back and forth motion, as well as 3 seconds per screenshot. But I'll give the benefit of the doubt and just say that maybe the intent behind it was for it to be a short video, and so that we can pause if we wanted to read it. Though knowing people nowadays on the internet with very low skills, well, no, not low skills, but knowing people on the internet and knowing how with the years our attention span is diminishing over the years, TikTok, YouTube for short videos, bits and stuff, has made us incapable of focusing on one thing at one time. So knowing that, I mean, if you would want people to actually be educated on a certain matter, you would be aware of that, and you would try your best to make people read it, pay attention to it, by explaining it or by showing it for a longer period of time, or by reading it, so they can visualize it and hear it at the same time, because that does help with concentration. But at the time I just thought, okay, maybe that person doesn't actually want us to be educated on the matter. And as I was reading the screenshots, which I'm going to be showing on the screen, I realized something just didn't sound right to me. So this is what was on the screen. However, far you take this idea, there are clear limitations. Any embeds that aren't heat resistant cannot be incorporated in any candle under any circumstance. That's a statement. But the statement starts with however far you take this idea. There are some clear limitations. Okay, so by reading that, you realize that this is not an authoritative figure on the matter of minerals and, heat resistance capacity regarding minerals. It has nothing to do with issues regarding danger or fire hazards. It has everything to do with an opinion. Neither should anything flammable, it goes on and says. Wax is fine. In fact, wax embeds are the only real acceptable form of embeds in many areas. Okay. That's interesting. And when you read this, though, it's clear to see that this isn't an authoritative figure saying this. It's not even like a journal, a science journal, where you could be sure that they're actually speaking on facts and not just opinions or ideas. And that's where I was a bit suspicious. And I clicked on description, and normally when people want to talk about things that are of empirical value, you would see that most of them would do one thing, which is cite their sources, because that makes it more legitimate whenever you speak on something where you don't have a degree, as I don't have a degree, but people that I source in my description do. So that's what I do, right? And that just made me a bit skeptical. So what did I do? I went on Google and I just wrote Mica bad. And what did I get? I got one blog speaking on the question of how non-toxic mica is and how it could potentially give cancer to people, how it was potentially giving cancer to people, because mica is found in many things. Though you might not read the ingredients, it is in many things for its colors and so on. But then I realized that that's not what I should be writing, right? What I should be writing is mica in candles bad. Why would I do that? Well, because that's already there. That's the bias. So by writing the bias on Google, you will be getting the same result as a person that had a bias against someone, right? So you do that, and then you find a blog. And okay, so if you go on the link that I'll probably be putting in my description, called link of sources for the person, even though you're supposed to do that, not me. If you go on that, one, you realize that this is a site promoting their course on how to make candles. So by that, you would say, okay, that's kind of not moral authority, but that's kind of an authoritative figure when it comes to candle making, right? Kind of. It's a blog. The people on there aren't geologists or chemists or anything like that. They just make candles for a living, or actually they give courses to make candles for a living, but regardless. So I see this blog, and it's kind of funny because it says 3 things you should never use for making candles. In the information age, finding answers for anything is simple. However, the growing mountain of content on the internet also creates some difficulties for who to trust when information seems conflicting or wrong. Boy, do you say. But moving on, you go down a bit, and then you will find explosive ready containers, which is what was in the video. I will put a screenshot here. It is common practice for new candle makers to assume they can put their magnificent blend in any container that holds air. This is not the case. Remember, candles are typically operating at a sustained temperature of over 1500 Fahrenheit in the flame, which significantly heats the surrounding container. Putting a candle together in an old container isn't always a good idea because many materials expend too much as they warm up and could literally burst. We know that. But going on and on and on, you can start to read about thermal fluctuation, items that we should avoid when using candle containers, such as plastic, wood, fine glass, anything that isn't watertight. Okay, this seems to be obvious, but maybe it isn't. You move on. Most crafts allow you creative freedom with materials, colors, and approach. Candles aren't quite as flexible, at least in some cases. Some cases. Consider that every non-meant candle is literally on fire during this operation, or its operation. This limits the amount of creativity that's possible by modifying how most candles work. Embeds are notorious. If you aren't sure what embeds are, they're some form of a decorative item added to the candle beyond the typical wax blend. A candle maker may embed a marble or a ring, whereas some may embed literal wax melts near the top of the candle. Keep in mind this is exactly what they want you to do. Okay, in this course, they show you that embeds of wax melts are the only thing one should abide by when making a candle. It's very clear, any embeds that aren't heat resistant, if you've noticed, they've broadened what to put and what not to put. Heat resistant objects can in that paragraph, doesn't it? So, however you take this idea, there are clear limitations. Okay, there are limitations. Any embeds that aren't heat resistant cannot be incorporated in any candle under any circumstances. So by switching that around, that means that embeds that are heat resistant could potentially be incorporated in candles with different variables, right? Am I right? Yes, I'm right. You just need to read it to be aware of this. And neither should anything flammable. Okay, so heat resistant, flammable. Okay, so it has to be heat resistant and it can't be flammable. Okay, that seems pretty manageable, doesn't it? Wax is fine. In fact, wax embeds are the only real acceptable form of embeds in many areas for them, right? For their course, that's what they're saying. While embeds are decorative and present a neat artistic touch to the candle, they aren't usually something that makes insurance companies smile. Of course they wouldn't. I mean, it's another variable into something that we're unsure of. But even in this, they said that certain things are acceptable, right? Like heat-proof, heat-resistant, or non-flammable embeds. Am I right? Okay. And if you also pay attention to that, they didn't say while non-wax embeds are decorative and present a neat artistic touch to the candle. They said embeds. So that also groups up the wax embeds. Not only the cinnamon and the wood, no, all of them. Candle insurance can be tricky enough as it is, but modifying the expected behavior of a candle with materials not normally included in candle making process or candle making can raise a few eyebrows. Sure, eyebrows can be raised, but I mean, if one can prove that because of certain statements that there is a loss of income, defamation is a real thing to look at. I mean, you can raise your eyebrows and you can talk about it with probably allegedly next to it, or I don't know if this is true, but this is what I found, or things like that, right? But when you state the fact that this can explode in your face and burn down your house, then that's more of an out there statement, right? And you can be sued for defamation, especially if someone isn't of public figure status, because that would be hard if that certain candle owner was Trisha Paytas, for example, or I don't know, someone else, Gigi Gorgeous or something like that. But when they have less than 10,000, they're not really a public figure as like Trisha Paytas. There are two kinds of embeds to avoid forever: fire hazards and yuckies. Fire hazards are embedded materials that could start on fire, melt, or give off dangerous VOCs, or anything not rated for heat that could expand and potentially explode. And this is important to look at because in a few seconds you'll see that mica is not a fire hazard. So think about the small pieces of glass or metal that could injure someone if it spilled out or spit out in any way. Potpourri, cinnamon leaves, or paper-based items are all off limits. Not seeing any crystals in there. Yuckies aren't a real term, but they refer to embeds people include for their smell or effect, but don't actually do anything, such as coffee beans, sugar, or anything like that. Still not seeing crystals. That's kind of weird considering the video was all about mica, huh? I mean, it's not as if they took 3 or 4 pictures of mica whilst taking screenshots of this. And ironically, the site doesn't even speak of mica or crystals in whatever matter. That's very interesting, huh? But anyways, so mica. Why am I making a video on this? And even though some might have raised eyebrows and might say, oh, this is probably one of Laura's, oops, never mind, one of that owner's minions, that's not the case. See, I saw a video and I saw people kind of gushing about this video because it was so well made and had screenshots in it because it was such a good video. And when I saw it, I didn't feel the same way. I saw it as it is a video that is full of fallacy. I mean, you're taking screenshots of a blog talking about what not to put in their candle, not even mentioning mica, crystals, nothing of that sort. Straight after that, you're putting pictures of mica. So you're warning us about what that blog is saying not to put by putting a picture of what you think not to put. And the thing is, most people are really lazy and most people don't like research. So what do? They blindly read what is on the screen, read being like skim, and they just tell you that your video is epic. Even though you have no sources, you have no real evidence of mica being that much of a dangerous thing. And really, if I could describe that video, I would just call it lazy. It was a very, very lazy video. It was a very, very lazy, argumentative video. And it really, you could have explained, you could have sourced where your fear was coming from. You could have shown proof of candles burning up houses because of crystals. I mean, you didn't say that in your video. I'm referring to you because I don't actually know who you are, but it's you, the maker of the video. But instead, you just put out Laura's voice in the background, had a few pictures of mica crystals, and had a few screenshots of a blog talking about what not to put in a candle. I mean, if that fits your cups, fine. It certainly doesn't fit mine. So I'm speaking on it, of course. But anyways, so what is mica? Mica forms part of minerals. So it's a type of mineral, and this type of mineral can be found in crystal form, as a lot of minerals can, such as salt, for example. Mica is one of the most used minerals in the world. You might find that amusing, or might find that to be hard to believe, but if you went to your bathroom and looked through different types of toothpaste, you would see that mica is in your toothpaste. Mica is probably in your house, in your central heating, at some place. Mica is probably in your cosmetic bag. Mica is probably in your paint. Mica is really everywhere, if you think about it. And why it's everywhere? It's because it's a very reliable mineral. See, mica is not only non-toxic, it's heat resistant, and it's used in anything that has to do with electricity. And this is where I kind of found it interesting, because people were talking of mica as if it was this highly combustible, flammable, non-heat resistant mineral element, right? Well, not actually element, sorry, mineral. But with a simple Google search, as you have done probably when you found that article, when you found that blog on what not to put in candles, in a very simple search, you would see that mica is heat resistant, mica is non-flammable, mica is non-toxic, and mica is very, very resilient. Resilient to time, resilient to moisture, resilient to heat. Mica is so reliable that we put it about everywhere. And because of its different uses, because of its because of the different ways that one can use mica, we can find it in powder form, we can find it in flake form, and we can find it in crystals, and each one of those forms serve a different kind of purpose. Powdered mica, also known sometimes as pigmented or pigment of mica, is found in about everything that has a color, and your lipstick and your eyeshadow and your foundation and anything like that. And during my live today, I said that most powders are flammable, which is true. Most powders are flammable, combustible. Mica though, and I don't know why, I still haven't done that much research into it, mica powder actually isn't considered to be a combustible powder, which is amazing, and which makes a lot of sense considering, again, we use it for everything related to fire when we don't want to fire. Isn't that interesting? I found that really interesting, and that took me about I'd say 5 minutes to read. Not that hard. And considering some of you are very, very fearful for the safety of people that buy those candles, you'd think you'd be so fearful you would give out 5 minutes of your day to research about it. But instead, what you research is mica safe. You're actually researching, is mica bad? And then you don't find it. So what do? You go on sites that kind of vaguely say that embeds are bad, and then you add pictures of mica straight after that so that people can link the two together without even knowing that they're being fully manipulated. So I guess that little description of fire hazard candles or molten candles, like you like to put in your title, falls flat, like on its face, like not even like kind of like this, nothing. Flat. The sources are in the description because that's what you normally do whenever you want to educate people on factual matters instead of trying to manipulate people into believing that this small amount of actual truth that you added into it is truth. I wonder, whenever you put the truth in your video, I wonder if people actually believe it's the truth. I'll try the opposite. I'll put the opposite of that. Okay, I'll put the lie of mica. Let's see if that works. Okay, I'll do that. But if you guys really want to speak on mica, maybe you should speak on the mining of mica, because that's another issue. That's another moral dilemma people should have, whether using mica and products with mica is good or not, considering it has a very bad mining industry surrounding it. But hey, I think I'm done with the video, and I do hope that next time people, one, don't share stupid videos, and two, people don't post stupid videos. But hey, that just comes from a stupid me, right?